Testing my audio. Test. All right, we are live. Hey guys, I missed a couple days from posting, but I first want to start the stream by lending my heart, compassion, and thoughts with everyone in Los Angeles. It wasn't even a year ago that I left my former home, Los Angeles, of 10 years. And some people, especially those that do not live in the area, will say that it's karma for Hollywood and that the empathy, it's almost like indicated that empathy doesn't need to be deserved. Some people I'm seeing posting. The point I'm trying to make is there are so many families that really worked and grind, and families that have had communities, have had houses in those communities for decades before they were multi-million dollar properties. And my heart is with everyone who's hurting. It doesn't matter if you're a celebrity, it doesn't matter, in my eyes at least, it doesn't matter if you're a celebrity or if you are a person in Altadena that lost their home, that lost their life savings. My heart breaks, and it especially breaks for the regular folks that are hurting, that a lot of people may look over when thinking about the LA fires. So point being, I want to send my heart and healing vibes for the Los Angeles natives. This is a really traumatic thing that's happening. I feel it. And it wasn't even a year ago that I literally got rid of everything, packed my suitcase, and left Los Angeles, my home. But it'll still have a very special place in my heart always. That's number one. Um, Number two is I'm just coming on here to stream real quick. So that's the reason why I haven't posted in a couple days. I've just been feeling empathy. And of course, definitely thank you to the first responders and everyone who has participated and in making this a better process moving forward and coming up with solutions. I'm a little tongue-tied. So, going forward, what inspired me for the stream today was thinking and also doing brief Google researches that there's not enough coverage, I feel like, in African news that's outside of French and German owned media outlets. So what do I mean here? When I go to my resources for written resources that aren't paywalled, by the way, or at least not too paywalled, some of them are still paywalled, I will always get at least 3 or 4, usually 3 to 5 different references. Lately, I've been into just taking a look at who owns these outlets or what companies run these outlets, and I'm noticing a trend that they're French or German owned. And listen, I don't live in Africa, and these journalists, one, they're actually paid to be journalists, but two, they have lived in Africa. Most of them, I assume. They know more than I do. But the bridge I'm trying to connect here is, given the tone of everything that's going on, all of the political uprising and the political changes, and especially with multiple countries realizing France isn't so much in the country's civilians' best interest, right? And with the tone changing, I would find it, me as a consumer of this category of media, I would find it useful if they had more writers that weren't French, or more writers that just weren't from Europe in general. I'll show you an example here. I'll show you an example. So what led me on this little random rabbit trail, don't mind the poppers in the background. This is very normal. um, okay. So the first source I went to was the africareport.com. So a little, I'm going to be a little biased here. When I read this piece, this cute piece, I just noticed how biased this person was, not in favor of Ibrahim Traore. So just as a disclaimer, I personally love what he's doing, Ibrahim. So I'm going to naturally be biased and not agree with the tone of this post, but I just want to read this and get your thoughts about it, if anyone is reading this too. The Burkina Faso's Ibrahim Traore, savior or dictator? This article was written by Benjamin Roger. Of course, this article is paywalled and it's on the africareport.com. This was published April 14th, 2024. So this isn't a new article, but it's still an article. One thing I noticed as well, there's not as much current or breaking news as available as it is in the States. Of course, this is another change I would love to see, as more and more exciting news about these African countries are coming about. Protected by his Russian allies and convinced that he has been invested with the mission, Ibrahim Traore is a messianic figure for his supporters. I don't know if I'm probably mispronouncing this word. Maybe this is messianic, like Messiah. At first I read messianic, so that's probably my mistake. And a paranoid autocrat for his detractors. To both, the self-proclaimed president remains an enigma. Burkina Faso's leader Ibrahim Traore has changed. He has become more confident. The military fatigues he wears are no longer earth tone, but an immaculate white. This guy knows fashion. So, good notes, but you know what? I can't make fun of you because I would probably notice the same thing as well. The longer the no longer the young captain so few knew before the coup of September 30th, 2022. So no longer the young captain that so few knew. He is now the world's youngest head of state, and although he has no legitimacy other than bestowing weapons, he commands deference. Megalomania. The early days of his reign, when Ibrahim Traore, as he's known to his countrymen, told anyone who would listen that he had no intention of staying in power. And these words are gone. So I'm going to back up here. Understand this. Yes, did he say that he wasn't going to stay in power? Sure. Also consider what happened. What happened during that year? And more importantly, what's more important than my opinion, this guy's opinion, what has Ibrahim Traore accomplished in this last year versus what was accomplished when France was messing around in Burkina Faso? Sorry, I have a little bit of fog brain. Forgive me. We're gonna try to get through this. So think about it. What has he done? He's paid off debts. He's gonna deliver a promise of delivering his own currency. God willing, he doesn't get assassinated, right? He tried. First thing, New Year's Eve. Of course, it was like the umpteenth time that this man has had his life in danger. But at this point, I think it's almost like it's not a joke, but it's like it's a thing, right? Not a good thing, by the way, but it's a pretty consistent thing happening. So, from the very first weeks, we realized that he was a great manipulator. He told everyone what they wanted to hear. This is politics. This guy just does not like Traore, but he can not like her like who he wants. A year and a half, he's still managing the country's day-to-day affairs. A task that he promised at the time to expedite. But I'm sorry, Mr. Benjamin Roger. Mr. Benjamin Roger. I'm sorry, but what has he delivered? By the way, let me get to the part. Benjamin Roger, I believe, is a French reporter. This is a French outlet. This is a French media news outlet, by the way. And this is one of the most searchable, SEO friendly searchable news sources about about a wide range of African current events. Just putting it out there. He was in no better position than anyone else. The coup against Lieutenant Colonel Dambia, as he's a man of strong, I'm just going to skim over this. Okay, we're going to get to the good part, the more important parts here. He volunteered to take responsibility and won the days, says an officer of his generation. A former civil servant phrases it slightly different. From the very first weeks, we realized that he was a great A former civil servant phrases it slightly different. From the very first weeks, we realized that he was a great manipulator. He told everyone what they wanted to hear. Then, when they finally understood, it was already too late. Again, this was written in April 2024, and I think what Benjamin didn't anticipate, I'm a time traveler here, was that his people, Burkina Faso, the actual civilians would love this, and Ibrahim would be such a catch. Revenge is scathing. Originally in Bundok, originally in Bondoukoy, in the agricultural west of Africa, Traore is a man of bush, frank, and direct. Okay. He he joined the army after a degree in geology, University of Ouagadougou. He passed through the Georges Numano Military Academy in Po, Burkina Faso, where, according to some military sources, he did not take kindly to the harshness of his instructors. I like that. Disgusted by what he had seen during operations, he despised the hierarchy in which superior officers sat in air-conditioned headquarters while their men were slaughtered by jihadists and amid general indifference. Many senior officers don't underestimate him and have nothing but contempt for him. He pays them back well. His revenge is scathing, one military source states. For these senior officers, obliged to stand to attention before captain in his 30s and obey his orders. This has been a hard pill to swallow. Many would be delighted to see him fall. Not least close though Not least those close to Dambia, who have been overthrown by their subordinates, or the former Green Mambas of Lieutenant Colonel Emmanuel Zangrauna, who had their power removed. Traore is aware of the distrust within the army. He's been in a bad position since the beginning, and he still hasn't managed to find the right position. Again, Benjamin, I wonder what Benjamin thinks current day about the following of Ibrahim, and how much, not just Burkina Faso, which is more important here, right? Burkina Faso benefits excuse me, in setting a great example for other African countries. This has got the world excited about what's going on in Africa. So I love it, love it, love it. At the beginning of September 2023, he was on the brink of being overthrown before the first anniversary of his own seizure of power. An attempted coup was foiled at the last minute, and several elite officers, including many from Special Forces and the Special Intervention Unit of National Gendarmerie, were arrested. Another, Major Ismail Tohugobu, was killed during an attempted arrest at his home in the capital of Burkina Faso. I'm going to stop here. I'm going to save time. I'm not even going to breeze through this whole article because it's just it's exhausting. But the point I want to make here is circling back, if we could turn back time, it would be safe to say that if someone just read this article and didn't have critical thinking to see for themselves what was going on and see videos and see the results that Ibrahim was able to deliver, someone that would eat up the first story that they read or hear might get deterred away from Ibrahim. Thankfully, there's a lot of critical thinkers. Many critical thinkers nowadays. So, you know, that's great because this really sends a message, right? What Ibrahim's doing. I'm going to leave that there. I'm just gonna see. Russians are present at site, but not too close. Russian protectors. But yeah, if you want to check out this article, it's on the africareport.com. Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore, savior dictator. Okay. Fake news. Wait a minute. Unsurprisingly, the propaganda machine is in full swing with the invaluable support of Russian experts. Okay, I'm not done. State-owned media has been transformed into a mouthpiece for the authorities, while foreign media outlets, including Africa Report, have been suspended or banned. Of course, they've been suspended or banned. I'm not an expert in journalism. I do have a journalism diploma from an online course, a couple of online courses that I took in 2024. Again, by no ways saying that I am a professional journalist right now. I'm just doing journalism as a hobby. It's like a cute hobby. But this okay, let me just paint a picture again. I know nothing. I know nothing about politics really, just outsider looking in. You have France that has controlled Burkina Faso, and their country, as well as Europe, has benefited quite a bit from not Burkina Faso, but many African countries for a long time. So when Burkina Faso says, I want a divorce, I want a separation, and I want to be successful and do this on my own, France freaks out. They're trying so hard to send in spies, put attempts on his life. There's just so much in the mix. And notice when France gets angry, right? I mean, if you follow this channel, you probably have at least somewhat of an idea of following of what's going on in Africa and the reason why Traore is so liked. So you have France freaking out. You have, understandably, these media outlets get kicked out because with journalism comes a lot of other factors which don't need to be mentioned except for this one fact. Journalism can be a soft spot or a vulnerability to the wrong type of journalist being involved, meaning you can't always trust every journalist. And by the sounds of this guy's tone and Mr. Benjamin Rogers, I've done some brief, basic AF research online about him, and he seems like he's in with his own agenda. Like with the WHO, the WHO, the same people that are delivering shots to African babies. I mean, that's a whole other conversation, but the same people that are delivering shots to African babies for years and experimenting on really poor people that don't know better as of now. Hopefully that changes. Now, I'm going to see if there's anything else I want to pick apart before moving on. A fan of populist discourse, he has played the ordinary people off of his bourgeois. I'm not even. Yeah. Bourgeoisie. He delights in denouncing the corruption of previous regimes, saying he wants to break bad government. Well, yeah, your people have benefit, Mr. Benjamin Rogers, but I don't feel like Ibrahim would be opposing these issues for no reason, except from the CFA Frank. Traore has adopted the Sankarist left wing ideology within politics of Burkina Faso doctrine of self sufficiency. Okay, sorry. The pregnancy hormones are going wild right now. Let me read that again. Traore has adopted the Sankarist left-wing ideology within the politics of Burkina Faso doctrine of self-sufficiency, saying he wants to produce the country's foods and needs locally and reduced imports as much as possible. How is this left-wing? Like, listen, I'm so exhausted from this conversation as an American expat that is now living overseas in East Europe slash Eurasia. Okay, like I'm exhausted, but like, how is being self-sufficient left wing? If anything, it's the opposite. Like, nice try, Benjamin. He is so quick to compromise his compatriots big things in the future, such as nuclear power stations to supply the country with electricity or factory manufacture. A member of the Alliance of Sahel states alongside Mali and Niger, he is talking about leaving the CFA Franc, having slammed the door of economic community or West African states. So far, he has delivered a lot of these promises, sir. But no bulletproof vest for you. Okay, that's it. Before it gets paywalled. So this is a very long article, and I could tell you took your time on it. What are your thoughts on this? If you're watching this, if you've made it this far, what are your thoughts? This is wild. Wild, wild, wild. Let's see, let me record this. I just want to go into Benjamin Rogers. Who is he? Oh, wait a minute. He works for the Africa Report, Africa Focus. That's cool. Again, I am not hating on Benjamin. You are actually a professional journalist. I just do this as a cute hobby. So Benjamin Rogers, you are the director for Middle East and North Africa initiatives. You're accomplished. That's aspiring. Well, on paper it is. At American Jewish Committee, the AJC. Why did I stutter on AJC? Like, I cannot read. My God. Okay, so he works for the AJC, the American Jewish Committee. So he has a good sounding resume. I'm a passionate advisor of Middle East policy, diplomacy, and conflict resolution. And let me apologize ahead of time. Benjamin, if this is the wrong Benjamin Rogers, please forgive me, because I think there might be a different one. I think it might be that one or this one. I think it's this one. So I'm actually going to correct myself here. I think this is also Benjamin Rogers, but the one we're talking about. French reporter Benjamin Rogers was recently expelled from Mali. Okay. Police officers in the capital arrest French national Benjamin Rogers, a reporter at privately owned... Okay, it's this guy. A reporter at the privately owned news outlet Jeune Afrique, who had arrived in the country hours earlier on a flight from France. So Jeune Afrique are the owners of the Africa Report. That's right. Okay. Let's see. Interesting. Is Ghana warming up to Burkina Faso despite ECOWAS tension? Yeah, because ECOWAS, like, oh my gosh, I'm so exhausted. So that's my point there. And then the same thing, the same point I wanted to make. Lasting thoughts. So circling back to I personally, as someone that is eating up more content for African news, African current events, I would really love to see a variety of different outlets, right? There's great YouTube channels. Like so far, I find the best diversity on YouTube, but written content, not so much. And I would love to write content on African countries and African affairs. I have no problem doing research. I'm that girl that if I like a topic and get fixated on it, I'm gonna do it. The problem is, I don't live in Africa. I don't even live in America. I am near East Europe and Eurasia in a beautiful country called Georgia, Batumi, Georgia, West Georgia to be exact. But I am in another part of the world, and I haven't even visited Africa yet, so I borderline feel like a poser. It, I borderline feel like a poser if I speak too confidently on these topics via writing, right? I could talk all day about it. I could talk all day, but through writing, um, I look forward to one day. I look forward to one day experiencing African countries I wish to visit for myself and being able to write about it once the opportunity is before me. So same thing. So this is another outlet that is popular, the Africa News. I hope you can hear me on this. So africanews.com, another little rabbit hole I went on. So who's the owner of Africa Report? Jean Afrique Media. We went through that. Who's the owner of africanews.com? So again, this is africanews.com. Who's the owner? Michael Peters. What else does Michael Peters own? Euronews, right? Again, I'm just putting it out there. Euronews, the same media that, from the name, again, I don't know much about it, but that is in alignment, or at least writes news for European countries. Some of the same countries that are the issue in poverty and just in poverty and in African politics. I'm gonna have to give Euronews a chance and read their stuff for myself, gauge their tone, and then I can come back better, possibly more humbled. Maybe Euronews is a little bit less biased than the African Reports company, the company that owns the African Report. But let's see who owns Euronews. Let's see here, Euronews. So the owner of Euronews and the African News is Michael Peters. Michael Peters is from Flensburg, Germany. He's the Franco-German media executive, so the French-German. So let me back up here. Before I get accused of what this could look like. This could look like I'm being not prejudiced, but racist. This is what it could look. Oh yeah, this guy is or nationalist, whatever the word. I don't know. I don't even remember. I don't remember what term it would be. But it looks like I would be discriminating against him potentially because he is of European descent. Or he's Northwestern European descent. He's German French. It looks like I could be automatically being closed off. That's not necessarily the case. Fun fact, I actually am half European American. Fun fact. So I feel like that's not the issue here. I feel like the issue is what it is on paper, on plain sight. There has been too many patterns of there being issues in Africa with the same countries. There's just issues there. So I would be more encouraged to like a media news outlet that was not just focused and written by the same people from the countries that are causing issues. That's all. That's it. Again, I'm sure this outlet's lovely and I'm going to give it some more chances. So, before I go too much off on a tangent and loop over and over again, then I'm just going to leave it here. Um, Again, this looks like a lovely guy, right? So, Reuters is a cool website. Again, I feel like Reuters might also be European, but this is a good site. I found some good sources on. All right. All right. My closing thoughts are this. I would love to see a world I would love to see more people in the world interested in what's going on. And I would be fascinated to see varying opinions about the movements in Africa because there's so much bias towards Ibrahim that reading content or seeing content that critiques him besides French military is unique. Not that they're wrong for their opinion that isn't as popular, right? It's actually more interesting to see other opinions besides the same ones that, we love Ibrahim. I would also be fascinated to see African civilians be more invested in news and current events and what's going on. So that way they have things to report instead of just seeing things go by. Like, there being more of a system of civilians observing things that are worth noting, and then let's just say the right journalist comes on and asks questions. I mean, listen, that's just a thought. It's just an intention, but I'm gonna leave it on this. My name is Ika J. Please subscribe to my channel, or feel free to subscribe to my channel if my delivery, my style of delivery interests you, or if you just like current events, travel news. Of course, I love African current events as of now, but I'm also a digital nomad expat, so it's been a while since I've posted content on my travels when I started this page. Um, but that that's still a thing on this channel. Eventually, what should I stream about next? Take care, take care, take care. And thank you for everyone that checked out my Africa splitting video. That's so cool. That's so exciting. I've been like actively on this channel not that long. I've been actively on it for like a month now, but I did start it earlier in 2024. But point being is that was so cool. Like the second video getting a lot of views. To me that's a lot of views. 500 views. And then my last video got like no views, probably because of the title, and the genocide. But it's an interesting video. Check out my video about the sanctions happening from the U.S. to Africa. It's such an interesting video, or such an interesting topic. So take care. Many well wishes on your health, on your body, your mind, and spiritual health.